Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost an entire season in so far, and these rankings have changed a decent amount. I'm excited to go through and update them, but before we get into it, make sure you go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel only if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. And if you have any questions, of course, you can drop those down there in the comment section. And in that comment section, you'll find a link to Underdog Fantasy where you can check out all these cool player props every single week. Get in a draft with us in the live stream. And when you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. And it's available in damn near every state. But I think that should be about it. Let's go through. Let's dive into these rankings. Starting off tier 1. I mean, here kind of sat and went back and forth among players. I am going to go Kenneth Walker at 1. I mean, I'll just let you know Breece Hall's at 2. Now, of course, I had Breece Hall in his own tier at the 1 spot coming into the season. But one thing that I really need to admit where I've been wrong is betting on running backs coming off of torn ACLs. 2 years ago, that's me betting on Saquon Barkley to be a great running back yet again. This year, it was me betting on J.K. Dobbins being a discount in the 5th, 6th round in those redraft leagues. And I was wrong. 100%, I need to admit it. And I think we need to reevaluate our stance on those two running backs. And what we've really found is those players coming off torn ACLs, very rarely are they able to hit the ground running. Very rarely are they able to be the same player that they were the next season. And more times than not, it's going to take the following year for them to be at 100%. So I'm going to be a little more hesitant to go through and bet on those players returning from their torn ACLs compared to where we've been in years past. Kenneth Walker's been phenomenal. I mean, Kenneth Walker's had some impressive performances, over 100 rushing yards. He has 9 rushing touchdowns this season. And honestly, I'm impressed with what he's done as a pass catcher. Kenneth Walker's been able to draw 31 targets this year. Now, I'm not sitting here saying, okay, he's a better passing down running back than Breece Hall. He's going to be the next Austin Eckler. Hell no, of course, that's not the case. But there's a big difference between being a running back that can get to 50 targets in a season versus a running back that's going to get to 15. It's a night and day difference. It's like your quarterback being able to pick up an additional 20, 30 rushing yards. He doesn't have to be Lamar Jackson, but as long as you're getting that little bit of extra juice, that can take him to the next level. So I'm going to safely go Kenneth Walker at 1 when he is going to be 100% healthy going into the next season. And remember, the Seattle Seahawks are in a phenomenal situation to continue to improve their roster. This is a team that got 2 first-round picks for Russell Wilson, saved a ton of money at the same time. They're going to get a top draft pick this year. Who knows if they go out there and trade for an Aaron Rodgers? Who knows if they go out there and draft a CJ Stroud? I mean, even if you love Geno Smith, I think mainly you're excited about this coaching staff. Mainly you're excited about the ability to invest in the offensive line this offseason. Should be a good spot for Kenneth Walker. And then at 2 with Breece Hall, I mean, he's everything you'd ever want in a running back. We compared him to an Ezekiel Elliott, Jonathan Taylor level prospect coming into the NFL. That's how he graded out. If we looked at his athleticism, his size, his college workload, his receiving down skill set, his NFL draft capital, he checked every single box you would ever want to see. I love me some Breece Hall. We're just going to be a little hesitant coming off the torn ACL. And then at 3, hell, I want to put Garrett Wilson here. Garrett Wilson has been phenomenal. Garrett Wilson has been superb. I mean, as an extremely young rookie wide receiver coming into a pretty bad situation in games where Zach Wilson has not started, Garrett Wilson has almost averaged 20 fantasy points per game. I'm going to go in depth with dedicated videos just for Garrett Wilson and his long-term outlook for the New York Jets and his dynasty value. So of course, if you play dynasty, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. And now dropping down to our next tier, this is where we had to really start thinking about things. I am not going to fault you if you want to go Chris Olave, if you want to go Drake London here. But with the recent step back that we've had from Chris Olave, with at the same time Olave being sold as more so the finished product getting to the NFL and Drake London more so the player that had the highest potential but was going to need to grow into it, I'm going to go Drake London at 4, Chris Olave at 5. Now with Drake London, he was put in a position to fail this season. The Atlanta Falcons, second to last in passing yards this year, only in front of the Chicago Bears. Now, of course, situation doesn't look great going forward, but I would make the argument, hell, it can't get worse. Are the Atlanta Falcons going to go from the second worst passing offense to the worst passing offense? No, they're probably going to regress to the mean just a bit. Maybe they end up coming away with, instead of 150 passing yards a game, 180, 190. Drake London was an elite level college prospect. I mean, he outproduced Amon-Ra St. Brown in that same offense at a younger age. I'm still willing to buy in on the talent of Drake London. It would be different if he pulled the Sky Moore and did nothing his rookie season. And then at 5, we're going to go Chris Olave. Like I said, he has fizzled out a bit. He's given you a high floor over the past 3 weeks. I mean, he's been averaging about 60 receiving yards per game. I don't want to overreact too much. The man's going to go over 1,000 receiving yards his rookie season. He's been great, but the New Orleans Saints don't have their first-round pick this next year. They are in cap salary hell. So I know that a lot of people say that they're going to be able to maneuver their way through the offseason and to be able to improve this roster. I don't know how, though. And now dropping down to our next tier, we're going to be going Christian Watson at 6. With Christian Watson, I'm recording this right before the Monday night game. So if he has some significant injury, I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to cover it. But outside of that, he has been one of the most efficient wide receivers in the entire NFL this season, to a point where I think he probably does end up taking a step back. Like, there's no way he can continue to be this efficient of an option in the Green Bay Packers offense. I'm hoping so with Watson. What I'm interested in is the future of Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Well, it looks like, Rodgers is still signed there for next season. I mean, hell, the Packers don't have a competitive roster. I mean, I think it would make sense for both parties if you could see the Green Bay Packers ship off Aaron Rodgers and his $40 million contract to a team like the Seattle Seahawks for some draft compensation so they can hopefully rebuild this for the long term. But regardless, Christian Watson has proven to be a phenomenal player. And then at 7, we're going to be going with Kenny Pickett, who was okay his rookie season. I mean, it wasn't like he was phenomenal. It wasn't like he was horrendous. With Kenny Pickett, he provides you with some rushing upside. We saw the rushing touchdowns earlier on in the year. I think it's a good situation going forward with Mike Tomlin, with George Pickens obviously flashing, Deontay Johnson signed with a long-term deal, Pat Freiermuth only in year 2. They really need to address the offensive line. And then at 8, we are going to be going with Treylon Burks, the wide receiver that we graded out as a better prospect than Christian Watson this past year. With Burks, an extremely unlucky rookie season when it comes to his injuries. Starting back in training camp, we are going to go through and we are going to dive in depth what happened with Treylon Burks' rookie season, cover all his injuries, cover the probability of Burks playing the full season next year. I think he could end up being a massive discount. And then at 9, we're going to go Jameson Williams. I know a lot of people are going to hate this ranking of Jameson. If you go and look at Keep Trade Cut, I mean, there they have him ahead of guys like Drake London. I mean, according to Keep Trade Cut, he's like the 4th rookie off the board. I don't get it. I mean, with Jameson Williams, yes, I understand the prospect profile. He was pretty damn good at Alabama. He would have been an even higher draft pick in the NFL, but he's a field stretching wide receiver. He's not someone from a fantasy football standpoint that's going to command a ton of volume. We obviously saw nothing his rookie year coming back from the torn ACL over the past 3 weeks. He's averaging like 10 snaps per game. So we had him ranked, I believe, around like the 108 coming into the year. So we're going to keep him right in that range. The really only change that we have is Christian Watson jumping ahead of him. And now dropping down to our next tier, we're going to go Dameon Pierce at 10. And I understand that we are going to have a lot of people that want Dameon Pierce higher than this, probably rightfully so. But I am always going to be more willing to bet in on that wide receiver talent, those wide receivers that I know for a damn fact are going to have a role next year, compared to what we see with running backs that have no draft capital. I can pull up a million examples of running backs that were very good their rookie seasons, but didn't have the team investment, so their NFL organizations decided to replace them the following offseason. How about we go back to last year? What happened last year? Elijah Mitchell averages 100 total yards a game in San Francisco. Then the 49ers draft a running back in the 3rd round. Then the 49ers go out there and trade for Christian McCaffrey. What happened the year before that? James Robinson was a top 5 running back in fantasy. And what happened? Hell, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected Travis Etienne in the 1st round. I mean, going to Michael Carter Jr. What happened to Michael Carter Jr.? Very good rookie season. And then the following year, they take Breece Hall in the 2nd. Those day 3 running backs, I'm going to be less willing to buy into the long-term viability of them, just because we've seen their NFL teams time and time again kind of just throw them under the bus. And then at 11, we're going to go George Pickens. I mean, Pickens has flashed. Pickens has made some highlight grabs. The issue is George Pickens is being dominated in targets with Deontay Johnson. mean, Deontay Johnson playing clearly ahead of him, even though George Pickens has been way more efficient. I mean, Pickens has the talent. Doesn't look like it's going to be that great of a situation, though, if he can't climb this target totem pole. And at the end of the day, looks like, I mean, hell, it's not that good of a Pittsburgh Steelers passing offense. And then at 12, we're going to go with Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson balling out against the Giants on primetime with Jahan Dotson. However, I mean, you have no long-term answer at quarterback. I'm sorry, Taylor Heinicke is not the guy. And on top of this, hell, yeah, Terry McLaurin signing the extension this past offseason. Dotson also is more so an NFL-ready wide receiver coming in, not necessarily someone that we assumed is just going to continue to get better and better and better. Keep in mind, he stayed all 4 years at Penn State. And then dropping down to our next tier, we're going to go with the day 2 running back group here. We're going to be going with Brian Robinson, Rachaad White, and James Cook. Brian Robinson, I'd say, has been the best running back out of this group, but he's probably going to be in the worst offense going forward. And on top of it, you had J.D. McKissic re-signing with Washington last offseason, so he's still going to be there in 2023. Antonio Gibson was drafted in 2020, so Gibson's still on his rookie contract. It's a little frustrating. You're in a running back by committee, not going to be drawing targets out of the backfield. Rachaad White at 14. Yeah, you have no idea what the future is with Leonard Fournette in Tampa. That's up in the air. And with James Cook at 15, I mean, hell, he's the only running back still signed to the Buffalo Bills next season. Devin Singletary's a free agent. Nyheim Hines a free agent. Very good spot for James Cook. And now dropping down to our next tier, we're going to go Isaiah Pacheco at 16. With Pacheco, very similar to what we talked about with Dameon Pierce earlier on. Clearly he has flashed. He's been a very good rookie. However, those rookies that have no pedigree at the running back position in particular, I'm going to be very hesitant to bet on. Time and time again, we see those running backs flash their rookie seasons and their NFL teams being willing to replace them. The last name I can remember that wasn't replaced with no NFL draft capital, you have to go back to the 2017 NFL draft to find guys like Aaron Jones and Austin Eckler. That was literally the last time I can remember. And then going over to 17, we're going to have Greg Dulcich, who's been very good for the Denver Broncos up until the past few weeks, but he did flash as that tight end. I mean, obviously, Denver looks like they're going to have a very bad offense going forward. However, with Russell Wilson getting paid a crap ton of money and at the same time having no draft picks. And we're going to go Alec Pierce at 18, who's flashed in Indianapolis, but very similar. I mean, the Indianapolis Colts are not good. I don't see how they turn the ship that quickly. They're going to have a new coaching staff coming in next year. Alec Pierce is more so that field-stretching wide receiver that's going to be creating space underneath for other options in this offense. So he's been good, but also he's very old coming out of Cincinnati. I don't know if he continues to expand too much. Now, dropping down to our next tier, we're going to be going with Romeo Doubs at 19. Doubs flashed earlier on in the season. I think Christian Watson's the guy going forward. Not going to be too surprised either if the Green Bay Packers decide to bring in another wide receiver this offseason. Keep in mind, I'm recording this before the Monday night game. So if Doubs comes out, has 4 touchdowns, we will reevaluate. And then at 20, we're going to be going with Desmond Ridder, who's horrible his first game starting, who has no draft capital. It wasn't that good in college. I think with Desmond Ridder, he has some rushing upside. He's probably going to get replaced in the offseason. I would be very surprised if he is a starting quarterback, but because he has some rushing upside, you have to give him some value just in case he does put it together and becomes that real-life starter. And then 21, we're going to have Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale, I loved him in rookie drafts. We actually ranked him as an early second-round pick rather than a late second, and he had a very good rookie season. But going back to what we were discussing with Breece Hall, I used to almost pretend like, oh, torn ACL, it doesn't really matter. They'll rehab in the offseason. We'll be good to go next year. That used to be my thought process, and we were wrong. I think we need to be putting a discount on those players coming off torn ACLs, especially in the case of someone like Wan'Dale Robinson, where it happened later on in the season. And then 22, we're going to be going with Trey McBride. McBride definitely flashed. Like, McBride's been getting on the field over the past few weeks with no Zach Ertz. Keep in mind, you probably have no Zach Ertz here going forward. I think if you're playing in a tight end premium format, you can bump him up even more. Same thing, tight end premium format. Maybe you can bump up Isaiah Likely a bit. The issue is obviously Mark Andrews here for the long term. So best case scenario, you're trying to sell yourself that this is going to be a team that all of a sudden uses 2 tight end sets on every single down, where Isaiah Likely can go out there and be the second leading receiver in Baltimore, an offense that has no passing volume whatsoever. And then last but not least, we're going to go with Malik Willis. Malik Willis, most likely never going to be anything at the NFL level. I mean, like we said, when he got drafted, when he fell that far and looked at historical data, Malik Willis probably nothing. But because he has rushing upside, he is someone that I think you can look at if he does somehow find a way to put it together, specifically from a fantasy football superflex standpoint. But I think that's all I got for you. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, please go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down there in the comment section. And in that comment section, you can find a link to Underdog Fantasy where they have player props every single week. And on top of it, you can get into drafts with us on the live stream or drafts in the public lobby if you want to. But thank you again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day and hope we get to see you in the live stream tonight.